Thank you all for joining us today for our second episode of our webinar series. My name is Jim Rodarte. I'm the Strategic Marketing Manager and Key Account Manager here at AP Tech, and I'm joined by Matt Horan, who will be presenting the second portion of this presentation. So we'll go ahead and show you the agenda for the presentation. I'm going to start out and just talk a little bit about what to expect in the new normal. I know that has been thrown around, that term. Everybody's kind of hearing it nowadays. And we really want to talk about what that might mean for water treatment companies with the current health crisis that we're dealing with and how it may look going forward. And then we'll step into the challenges of some of the current practices in that environment, how you can best position your business to match customer needs going forward, and really how to start the conversation with your customers today. And then after that, we'll open it up for Q&A. But the questions are available to be asked throughout the presentation. You can just enter those in, and then at the end, we will answer as many as we can. So as we talk about the new normal and what to expect, I'm sure it's, again, something that we've all heard lately. And while it's unclear what this will be, I think we can all agree that our behavior as consumers, vendors, and people in general will be changed for the foreseeable future due to the pandemic we currently face. Whether you believe we'll be back to some semblance of normalcy sooner or later, it's clear that normal will have a very different context. One thing we do believe is that social distancing at some level will continue. People will continue to practice safe social distancing when possible. When the choice is available, limiting contact with others will continue to be preferred. Companies who can provide solutions that conform to this new thinking will come out ahead and position themselves to gain market share. Companies are taking action to change their visitor requirements and access as we speak. In the future, you may not have the level of access to your customers that you've come to expect in the past. Additionally, your customers will value any actions you take to comply with more stringent policy while continuing to provide your expertise and service. There's a shift happening in what your customers value. And if you're not aware of this shift, you'll be missing a valuable opportunity to gain market share coming out of this crisis. Employers are taking preventative measures to limit exposure amongst their own employees at work. As the economy reopens, companies will continue to look for ways to limit exposure to those outside of their organization as well. Companies that have experienced supply issues in any way during the crisis will be sensitive to being prepared for the next crisis. Think about your pantry at home. I imagine it's a little more crowded these days. Like consumers, companies will place an increased importance on being prepared, having a larger stockpile of essential goods on hand. And finally, safety. Safety of employees is top of mind for all companies right now. Keeping a healthy and safe workforce is going to be viewed as paramount. So with this shift in thinking, we believe there are several challenges with liquid chemistry and some real opportunities to retain current customers and capture new business utilizing solid chemistry. For more on that, I'll hand it over to Matt Horan, Managing Director at AP Tech. Matt?
Yeah, thanks, Jim. Good. Appreciate the introduction and kind of outlining what we're trying to accomplish here today with talking about solids and AP Tech solid products and fitting in, moving forward in the age, I guess, coming out of this pandemic, hopefully before long. I just want to say again, hopefully everyone's doing well, their families and their friends and teammates at work, and appreciate you taking a few minutes here this morning if you're here in the U.S. On the East Coast, really early morning if you're on the West Coast, or maybe in the afternoon if some of our European friends have joined us. So again, appreciate that, and thanks for joining. Again, liquid chemistry has certainly been a viable standard solution in the water treatment industry for decades. We understand that, but we've built our company and our product line, to look at some of the different advantages an alternate form, a solid form, a concentrated form can offer to the market and to the customers and users of water treatment out there. So that was our kind of onus and directive when we develop the product into solid solutions. So, evaluating the current times, like Jim said, moving to the quote unquote new normal, we think there's some things we can highlight with these aspects that can even strengthen the position of solids even further. So let's check out a few of the challenges here as we, look at what a end-use site, a place that requires water treatment, some of the things they might face, and then we'll kind of tie that together, coming further down, how the solids can address those. So, comes space, where do you store product? Customers don't have a lot of space on site sometimes to store additional chemistry, to have maybe multiple months worth of inventory. Or if there is storage space at the facility, it might not be convenient to where the product is being utilized and needed. So again, challenge number one is limited space. Another challenge that liquids could pose is the need for higher rate of frequency of delivery. So because you have to have a dilute product, you got to bring product in more often. You can't keep it on, and also tied to the space, you can't keep a high level inventory. So most locations, the delivery needs to be frequent, and depending on the size and product demand, deliveries could be multiple times a month. So it's just another challenge that needs to be taken into account. And then it's possible that specialized delivery could be required. So maybe depending on the types of containers that are being utilized and brought in, trucks with lift gates need to access the site. Once they get there to a dock or the unloading point, there might be tow motors, pallet jacks, drum dollies, all the types of material handling equipment we're familiar with. They might need to be utilized as well. So again, might not be the ultimate issue might not be utilizing that piece of equipment to offload or unload the product there, but what it does is it takes a little bit more time. There's potential more person-to-person interaction with that delivery driver or with that truck driver coming in. So again, specialized delivery, that could be a challenge for the prospect or the client. Maybe that's a prospect you're discussing water treatment options with. So what we want to do is position or help you position your business, to offer value and more value to a prospect or a current customer. And again, there are inherent challenges that we just mentioned, but these shifts in consumer and client needs that these times will bring upon us, again, should pose the question to you: how can you position your company to better serve your customers? Or when you're out selling to new prospects, how can you better position yourself in front of them with a solution with value? So what everyone's looking for is, what can a vendor, a service provider bring to me? What's the value I get when I engage with that entity? So let's talk about reduction in delivery frequency. Again, a relatively small space, a mechanical room, the utility area, the storage area that where your water treatment products live. We could easily keep 3 or more months worth of inventory of the solid products. They can be stored and managed from that point. Lots of you are familiar with our packaging. A typical package of whether it's our bottles, maybe the discs and some of the other forms is never larger than a 1 by 1 by 1 fiberboard box. You kind of see some there in the background in that picture. They stack easy on the floor, on a shelf, in a cabinet, so they can be pretty out of the way and then tidy and kept neat. So again, you can maximize inventory and whatever floor space might be. So as you're having conversations with your prospects, your customers, you want to educate them that these solids can maximize inventory that can be held on site. So, and again, you take that to the tie to these needs together. That's a reduction in delivery frequency. Just even in March, we had this pandemic, and some of the things were evolving. We had a customer of ours that had a client, a multi-site service company that was the ultimate end user, and they were concerned about their water treatment and wanted to ensure that they had product available and on site for up to 2 months. So we worked with our partner to coordinate 2 months worth of product to go to these sites so they could get them out there, have them available, in new knew and felt comfortable that there wasn't going to be an interruption in their service, because they are an essential business providing service and products out to the market and to industries. So it was valuable to them that these sites couldn't shut down, and they needed effective, efficient water treatment through that. So again, just a real life example as things unfolded quickly there, that middle end of March, when someone said, gosh, we need to make sure we can have water treatment and have a couple months inventory on site. So we were able to help them and be a part of that solution. So definitely pleased we could do that. We start talking about the deliveries and the convenience of those deliveries and the safety of those deliveries. So kind of mentioned here that, our products, again, probably as many of you know, if you utilize them, ship it in on common carriers like UPS, FedEx, parcel services. We've even in time shipped some stuff with the post office if that's been needed. So again, where these are beneficial, as people in their personal, professional lives, or they want to limit contact with others. So, they're talking about if you go to the store and how that you're trying to keep your distance, you're minimizing contact with people, probably taking some more deliveries at home of goods. Maybe you're using one of the grocery pickup services. So this is going to transfer over to professional aspects of our lives too. So, one of the things our products can do is with these types of deliveries and goods coming in, say someone like a UPS or FedEx, there's not a specialized delivery service having to come in, or an extra common carrier that wouldn't normally make a stop unless they were only dropping off, water treatment or program that you guys might be utilizing or a custom site might be utilizing. So they can ship here, they land at the common receiving area, and with these services, services are probably coming by every day. They come by here every day. We get coffee and stuff for their janitorial supplies, other office supplies. So again, these services are in and at facilities every day, and people are comfortable and accustomed to that. So you can utilize and piggyback bringing in water treatment with that. And that just wouldn't be the case with typical liquid products, or if they were in smaller packages like pails, they might be subject to hazardous charges and extra special handling that gets tacked onto the pails and things like that. So the value to your customer should be pretty clear when they see that they can eliminate this extra delivery service maybe that has to come in, or an extra truck driver that has to spend a few minutes on site. So, a box being dropped off with one of these services, and it can just reduce interactions and keeps the employees safe. Pretty compelling proposition, we believe. And then, reduction in exposure for you and your customers. So oftentimes we've talked about exposure in the chemical industry. You're thinking about exposure to the chemical itself. In these times, it's exposure and contact to other people. It's just, it's going to be less. Facility managers or policies put in place on sites are not going to allow people in as frequently. They don't. It's got to be very necessary, and the water treatment obviously is, but if someone can come up with a way, and we think solids help with that, to spread those interactions out, that's pretty valuable. We've actually got a partner we were doing some work with on an R&D site here locally, and they've asked, our most recent interaction with them was could we come in to evaluate the test site on a Saturday? So, they didn't want us in there during their normal operating hours when their full staff is there. So maybe that's something that's going to change. Maybe these water treatment service visits will have to happen more early in the morning or in the evening or on the weekends. We don't know. It's just one example, but again, something to take into account. Well, I'm sure we'll hear more and more examples and anecdotes of that, in the coming weeks and months. Another thing we can kick around too is using some of our products as adjuncts to water treatment, the current water treatment program, if that is liquids. So you take something like our tabs or our sticks. They can be used with applications where liquids are deployed as the primary mode of treatment. But maybe there's been a lapse in inventory. There could be a lapse of inventory, or the water treatment or the water treater just hasn't been able to access the site. So if you had some of the sticks or the tabs on site, you can these are easily added to the system. So they check in with our tech sales specialists. They can direct you through, product availability choices. And we understand these might not be one-to-one formulations for liquid products, but what they do is whether it's a closed loop corrosion inhibitor, maybe a scaling corrosion inhibitor for a cooling tower, you could have product on site that if the water treater or the service person couldn't make it in, you could direct someone on site, hey, if you add a stick or 2 tabs per some volume of water, you can ensure that you've got treatment. And again, it might not be the exact same as the water treatment, the current program, but you're getting a proven formula that APTEC's deployed for long time. Got state-of-the-art raw materials. Again, everyone's familiar and comfortable with our formulations. So again, what we're wanting to make sure here is there can be something on site that people can use in the case there's a shortage of inventory or the water treater can't get on site. So it can buy some time, to keep the systems running efficiently and effectively. And we want to make sure you guys do. You want to make sure these systems you manage remain protected at all times. So kind of a summary, some insights and opportunities. I do like this graphic. So if you'd be interested, certainly we'd share any bits or portions of the entire presentation, but I think this is a pretty cool piece here. It could be an infographic. It's a simple message you can take to your customers, that will resonate with them, maybe hit home on some things they're having to deal with. And, all the services and vendors and suppliers they bring in, water treatment being just one of them. They're dealing with this, whether it's pest control, if they contract cleaning services, they're having to take these things into account across those things as well. So again, how would we start the conversation, or help you start the conversation? So we got a few little pointers here. It's kind of things that maybe questions you could ask, kind of kick off conversations with prospects, clients, if that's of interest too. This is, I think this is a great quote. Again, we want to make sure we're always adding value to your customer, if that's what it is, or if you're out in front of a prospect, presenting new value to them, because that's what everyone's doing. People change vendors because they perceive there's not a value provided to them. It's something to keep in mind. Again, everyone's got a little bit of extra time, maybe a lot of extra time on their hands, so time to evaluate things like that. So, keep building your story using topics like this to kind of hone your craft and hone your sales pitch. We think that's something that can be done and very good. So, again, what are the questions? Here's a few of them we've got, but if you just take that first one, you were talking to a prospect, your client, and just kind of said, hey, what's happening at your facility? What are the practices, precautions, that you guys have maybe had to put into place because of COVID-19 and the events of the recent months? And then from there, how does that relate to your vendors? How are you managing that? So that kicks off conversation, and then you can start, feeding down into the other questions, building some rapport, presenting solutions to them, presenting value to them. So again, for a prospect, can help you get in the door. You may be offering value that their current vendor isn't or can't. And if it is a current client you're wanting to have this conversation with, you're being proactive. You're getting out in front of them and offering value. And I think everyone appreciates their key partners presenting value and bringing that to them, especially with overall, there are a lot of changing dynamics at their facility, a lot of moving parts they're trying to manage. In summary here, you kind of walk through what we just discussed. We know many of you have sold and deployed solids over the years, and certainly we always appreciate that. And we really appreciate that. Definitely reach out for any support on that, any of those applications. Maybe to further discuss this approach and this topic. And we want to continue to support you as you all look for new opportunities for solid technology. So again, we getting ready. The next slide opens up the Q&A portion of it. So I think Jim will be firing off to me some of the questions that have come in, and feel free to send in more. And we've got a little bit of time here still that we've allocated, and we obviously want to be aware of the time. So if we don't get to them, feel free to check in with us, and we'll answer them later today if we can't get them all addressed here. Jim, what do you got?
Yeah, thanks, Matt. We've had a couple questions come in just around shipping, so I'll try and
Sure.
combine those if I can. How much does it typically cost to ship your products is one of the questions. Obviously, that vary based off location or anything. But do you have any kind of sense for a ballpark estimate that maybe we could give someone?
I'm trying to recall from past and helping out with that. But we're in Cincinnati. I'd ship somewhere within a couple hours here. Maybe it's up to Chicago, down to Nashville. I think one of our scaling corrosion inhibitors, non-hazardous, shipping for about $25 to $35 per parcel, and then it doesn't ramp up linearly if you add more. So it's not bad. You get a lot. Maybe that could be a month's worth of product for $25, $30 to a site.
Okay, and just staying on that shipping theme here. So how quickly can you ship products? What's the typical lead time?
As we've been evolving here and utilizing our new place, new capacity for the past 6 months or so, our average lead time has been just over 3 days. We commit to better than a 5-day, and we've been meeting that. And certainly, if any of you have needs and need to get something deployed quickly, we'll do whatever we can. Certainly if you're working on one of our core products, there's usually availability to get that out pretty quick. So again, we keep a good inventory, and again, we can help you and your clients out if that's what's needed.
Okay, and then can you ship biocides via FedEx or UPS?
Yeah, you can. All of our products can ship by FedEx or UPS. There are some products that are hazardous, and I think one of the biocide, some of the boiler products. But we are able to that. We have hazardous contracts with those companies. That does change the fees a little bit, but again, still you can utilize that parcel delivery service to get a case of biocide from, whether it's your guys' warehouse or maybe it's direct from APTech as a drop ship, blind shipment. We can get that out to your site if that's what's needed.
Okay, and then looks like we have a couple questions around the maintenance application slide that we talked about.
Okay.
One was kind of referencing what type of products would be recommended, and then the second was along that same line. If you were using those in an emergency, how would you know the correct amount of dosing for the products if you were doing it manually?
Sure, yeah. So what we're really looking at there are the tabs and sticks products. Right now, tabs being deployed mostly in the closed loop corrosion inhibitors, and then sticks kind of goes out and broadens out into our full line of scaling corrosion inhibitors across lots of applications. So again, definitely would check in here with one of the tech service or tech sales specialists that can get you the right product. And then to kind of move on to the next bit of that question would be the product bulletins. Combination of the tech sales specialist could give you some guidelines. But on the bulletins, for whether it's sticks or tabs, we've got some guidelines. It might be one stick per 1,000 gallons or 4,000 gallons, or one tablet or two tablets per 500 gallons. So what you'd be looking to do there is give some guidance to your person on site, while you can't access that site yourself as the water treater, but you could say to the maintenance engineer or the maintenance person, so, hey, that product we've got on site there, XYZ sticks or XYZ tablets, I need you to add, we know your system is 5,000 gallons. We need you to add 3, and that'll keep them treated. And then on that product bulletin as well, those products are all tested for, whether it's phosphonate, PTSA, maybe it's nitrite or moly and molybdate in a closed system. So they're all able to be tested for. Nothing magic about those formulas in that sense.
Okay, great. I'll just to buy some time, if any other questions want to filter in here, I will let everyone know that our next webinar will be held, and we'll be talking about choosing the best dissolving equipment for your solid chemistry application. So if you had questions about our dissolving equipment, that's going to be a great webinar to attend or have your team attend, and that'll be Wednesday, May 27th at 10 a.m. I think that wraps up the questions we've gotten in, Matt. So again, thank you for your time. Thank you to everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next month.
Great. Thanks, Jim.